Hi guys, welcome back to Candid Football Conversations with SportsKhabri, and I'm joined by Arunava Chaudhuri on this Saturday afternoon. Well, there has been a bit of there have been few murmurs around ISL clubs not willing to let go of their players for the Asian Games. Of course, this is problematic, and it's something that we've already discussed, Arunava. While India did get approval for going to the Asian Games, we were unsure of whether ISL clubs would let go of their players because a lot of them start their ISL campaigns, they're already playing the Durand Cup. Given all of this, how do you see this panning out?
Well, there are two things, Rahul, that we have to say. Before the Asian Games, you have got the AFC Under-23 Asian Cup. Some of the players are called for that. Other players are called for the Asian Games. Some of the players most probably will play for India in the Kings Cup. And to me, it was clear from the start that the Kings Cup preparatory camp most probably will be a short one. Some players might be called up after the group stage or the semi-finals. While those playing in the final, let's say Mumbai City reach the final, a lot of players from Mumbai City will only reach an India camp 3, 4, 5 days prior. We've got travel in there from India to Thailand as well to add on to it. The same to some extent also exists when it comes to the AFC Under-23 qualifiers. And that Under-23 qualifiers squad is sort of say the core team to go to the Asian Games.
Yeah.
But that will be an Under-24 team because the Asian Games were postponed from 2022 to 2023. So it's to put a context to the whole thing. And you have on top of it, Sunil Chetri, Gurpreet Singh Sandhu, and Sandesh Jingan called up as the 3 over 24 age players.
Yeah.
So there's a whole khichdi in this. And when we were discussing on our lives this, and also, we did a podcast on this regarding should the 3 senior players be going to the squad. It was very, very clear for me as someone who's worked in and run an ISL team that the ISL teams were not happy because you should not forget that at the same time as the Asian Games, you have the AFC Champions League and the AFC Cup happening, which means that Mumbai City, Odisha FC, potentially Mohun Bagan Super Giant, because they have to still play the qualifiers. Those 3 teams who have a lot of players in the squad might say, we will not release the players. And then you have on top of it, the Durand Cup happening. And I would have expected or wished at least that the federation would proactively speak with the clubs and say, guys, Under-23 qualifiers first. We need the guys. And then we've got the Asian Games. Do release players if and when needed. Because Under-23, there is no release clause as would be for a senior national team. So therefore, the clubs have the right to say, I will not release players. Because one thing we should not forget in all of this always, that the players are paid by the clubs. They give allowances from the AIFF. But the salaries, which are now in lakhs and crores, are paid by the clubs.
Well, Arunava, but it's sort of a very sticky situation because there's so many things going on. At some point, you have senior players moving out as well. What do you think about these things? Because we have to play the Kings Cup, and then we have to also. I mean, you have to prepare for the ISL, wherein you will be using a lot of your senior players. How will clubs take to that? Or I understand that the under-23 players cannot be released, and you need to take permission. But what about these senior players? What happens to them?
See, there's a FIFA release window normally before the FIFA match days. And again, they're normally short, right? India likes long camps. This is something which, we've seen teams going into the World Cup last year with 6 to 7 days of preparation, right? We in India seem to be needing longer camps. You saw that this long camp in May, June, going into the Intercontinental Cup and then going into the SAF Championship really helped for the team to gel. My point would be now is I hope that you've laid the groundwork for the next 6 months. You're likely to get 15 to 20 days in December for the AFC Asian Cup. But again, also saying that your core team going into the Asian Games is going to be actually the Indian national team, because a lot of these boys actually play for the senior team. But again, you've got an under 23 squad, you've got a senior squad, and then you've got an under 24 squad. So there will be changes. And of course, you've seen that Sunil Chhetri has made a statement that he might ask for an exemption from the King's Cup because his wife is expecting, so he wants to be there for the birth of his first child. And that's a request which, again, we need to accept from our captain. I mean, he's given us so much, and again, if he's expecting, he's not. His wife expecting the first child that Sonam is going to give birth. He deserves that off time.
Yeah.
And potentially, I think the Kings Cup might be a good platform for Igor then to try out something with another striker. I mean, I'm diverging on that front, but again, that's one thing. But again, we're talking now with the under 23s to start off with this whole cycle, that Mumbai City and East Bengal have so far written letters stating that they don't want to release the players at 12th of August, for that preparatory camp, because they're also playing Durand Cup, which is for them a preparation for the AFC Champions League.
Yeah.
So the point here is again, it's very difficult in an Indian context. But now we are in the situation of saying that we will have to not only adopt, but adhere to standards of concise, quick camps to prepare teams for international competition. And that is the real challenge in all of this. We've been talking up to end of last season, our players don't get enough matches. I think by the end of this season, we will be talking is that the players have too many matches.
Yeah.
Some of the players, if they play all potential matches over this ISL, International, Federation Cup, Durand Cup, they most probably would have played more than 50 matches, right? So therefore, that's why I say the calendar, the strategy, the planning is the most important thing. And communication. Someone has told me that Igor Stimac next week will be talking to the coaches of the ISL. Very, very good, but too late. This communication should have happened over the last few weeks, even before it was clear that you're going to go to the Asian Cup. Do your homework also with the Asian Cup.
Yeah.
Have that conversation. Speak to the coaches. Speak to the key coaches of the big teams, not only big, but actually all teams in the ISL. And say, I need your help. I need your support. But we cannot forget that our Indian clubs are also playing in that continental competitions around the same time as the Asian Games. That's a big thing. And the AFC Under-23s, which is happening in parallel to the Kings Cup, you are sending a weakened team. You're not sending the strongest one because your national team is actually preparing for the Asian Cup. So you've not prepared your second or third line, right? This will be the first camp and then tournament since October 2021 for the Under-23s. So, yeah, it's all of these facts which make it a very, very, very difficult. And I do understand also that, for example, if we talk specifically about East Bengal and Prabhsukan Gill, that East Bengal will want Prabhsukan Gill in their goal against Mohun Bagan Supergiant in the first derby of the season in the Durand Cup. But if you make an exception for Prabhsukan Gill for the derby, every other team could ask and say, listen, it's not a derby, but this match is important for me.
Yeah.
So you set a precedent. So therefore, communication, open lines of communication are the key, and looking forward and realizing that you need to sort these things out, because there's the national interest at international level, which is national teams, clubs, local competitions, all of it together. We have given the Asian Games a lot of importance.
Yeah.
But the question is, in the whole scheme of things, how important are the Asian Games? India has a fascination with the Asian Games because of India being a two-time champion of the tournament in 1951 and 1962. But most other nations are sending under 21, or not most other, but the biggies are sending under 21s. They're not even calling on their players in Europe or in North America. So therefore, these are things we need to keep in mind. And yeah, there's a big call to be made.
Yeah, it is. Arunava, just for context, again, we're talking about the Asian Games because it's leading up to the Asian Cup in January, and then it's probably sort of preparation, and everybody loves that we're now playing it. But how important is it for these guys who are going to be part of the Asian Games to be a part of their clubs as preparation for the AFC Champions League and the AFC Cup? How important are these tournaments as compared to the national tournaments, international tournaments?
We should not forget that Mumbai City FC, for the moment, will be the last Indian club to play in the Champions League for a while, because they are at the AFC is rebuilding and restructuring the Champions League. It's becoming more elite, and we fall out of that bracket.
Yeah.
So from that standpoint, I feel it is very, very important for India to perform to some level in this competition. I feel it's very, very important. And it's imperative for us that Mumbai City can play its best players in that competition. Despite, on the other side, I'd love to see an Apuya, an Akash Mishra, a Vikram in the Asian Games. So, and not Asian Games, but also the AFC Under-23 qualifiers. So therefore, that is, again, that's going to be the charm in the next years, is how do we structure, how do we build a season? Because also at the moment it's monsoon season in the east and northeast of India, right? That's another reason. We've got the discussion last season about April, May, about heat. So all of this it makes an Indian football season, an Indian football calendar, for whoever is putting it together structurally and planning it, very, very difficult. And then you have now these continental obligations of the clubs and the national teams, which you need to factor in.
Well, it is a tricky challenge and it's a tricky road ahead, Arunava. But is there any hope that this situation can get resolved before the next couple of weeks so that we have some clarity on the on who goes where?
We will have to have that. But again, I think club versus country is something that is not happening for the first time. And forget in Indian context, in a global context, it happens when the African Cup of Nations happens in January. It will happen next year at the AFC Asian Cup, with European clubs releasing the Asian star players at the last second, especially the Premier League boys. Yunmin Song always is my prime example. He always comes at the last second. You have to find a solution. You have to find a solution to send the best possible team or teams from an Indian context, but also ensure that you don't weaken a Mumbai City, an Odisha, and potentially a Mohun Bagan when they represent India at continental level, because success of these teams are very, very important for India potentially in the future getting back its Champions League spot. So this is, I think, the big challenge that we have.
Well, guys, like Arnava said, I think all of us agree that club football is very, very close to as important as your national team performing well. And we'll know whether certain players stay back, certain players go in the next couple of weeks at least. By the time September rolls around, I hope we get a lot more clarity and hopefully everything works out well in the end. Well, that's it from us, guys. Thank you for joining in. Catch us on Candid Football Conversations throughout the week and on catch us for our Wednesday lives that where we discuss transfers and all things Indian football. Thanks, Arnava.
Thanks a lot. And as always, like, share, and subscribe SportsKhabri and Arunfoot. And we'll be back soon.